My name is Beverley Gass, and I'm retired. I'm a retired librarian from Guilford Technical Community College, where I worked for 38.9 years. Well, I was involved not from the original idea, because that idea came from Sandy Cooper, who was a state librarian at that time, and Susan Nutter, who was and still is at NC State University. Those two called a meeting. I believe we met at Elon College, it was then. There were representatives from the community colleges, the independent colleges and universities, and the university system, and probably public libraries. But it was kind of a small auditorium of folks, and Susan and Sandy got up and talked about NC Live. Well, it wasn't NC Live then, but this idea of sharing resources, electronic resources, and what a good idea that seemed to them, and what did we all think. And in the conversation, in their presentation, they talked about, we're going to be asking for some state funding, and that was on a Friday, I recall. And so I came home just, driving from Burlington to Greensboro, thinking all the while, oh dear, what can I do about this? And so I have a friend that I work with at Guilford Tech. She was at Guilford Tech by that time, but she had been at the community college system, Kathy Baker Smith. And I said, Kathy, here's what's happening, and who should I talk to? We need to have independent money coming to the community colleges. And she gave me some advice, and probably Monday morning I called the community college system, and I don't believe, or maybe I called the president of the system, but he was very generous. And I think the next day I came to Raleigh, and Sandy Cooper and I met with either the president of the community college system or his second in command of the system. And for some reason, it was an idea that was received warmly, and the man said that he would do something about it, and it was kind of that simple at that time. I think it was probably the best thing that ever happened to the community college libraries. It gave us a purchasing power that we would never have had. In a way, it gave us access to resources, both monetary resources and information resources that we could never have had. And even if there'd not been an NC Live, and even if the community college libraries had just done this by themselves, we would never have had, at least to this moment when I retired, the ability to license the kinds of things that we now have access to. And somebody, it wasn't me, but someone on the Librarians Council always called it a leveling of the playing field. It made all students, and especially in the universities, community colleges, and the independent colleges and universities, have the same basic resources that we clearly would not have had. The thing that always comes first to my mind is the opportunity to have worked with the people who were on the Librarians Council. I mean, these, to me, were the real best and brightest thinkers in the libraries in North Carolina. So it was just a wonderful opportunity to be with those people and see their minds work and see how they made decisions and worked problems out, and yet they were really good people to be with. I mean, I loved it. It was just a great opportunity to be treated as a truly professional librarian. I remember the process of hiring Tim Rogers. I was a part of that process, and it was a wonderful thing. And I think one of the best things that happened to NC Live was to get Tim on board. He came on with such energy and good ideas, and he just made it a real stable kind of thing, I think. One of the things that I was struck by in the latter years of my time with NC Live, and especially with Tim's being there, is that he hired a group of people to be staff who had such high technical skills, but such fabulous people skills, that those things mesh so nicely with the NC Live staff. And I think that the NC Live staff and NC Live has been able to be a leader in the use of technologies in libraries, and it helps some of us think about how we can do some of these different kinds of things. I think with the large libraries, there's such a massive energy and people there, and resources often they don't need that kind of support. But I think maybe it is that unexpected support that we never thought of that, I think, when we started. But when we have problems in libraries about using technology or resources, I think NC Live has become the place that we turn to or should turn to. Well, I think the message would be that the resources that are available to us and to our students or to our clientele, to our publics, it's just priceless in effect because of the buying power that this consortium or NC Live has brought to us. So there are resources there that really have made our libraries better and stronger and stronger for our students. I mean, that's kind of what we always have to think about. Of course, I think we also have to think about our faculty and how we need to promote this with them. Because in community colleges especially, I think until faculty know the value of, or not know the value, but until they are aware of some of the things that are available in the library for their students, then it's harder for them to get their students there. I think that, I don't know how it is in four-year schools, but in two-year schools there is a real connection between the faculty member and the classroom and the librarian. So I think it's keeping that good connection and good relationship with the faculty in the community college especially. As a member of the staff, you always need to make sure that you're telling those people who have responsibility for making funding decisions the value of this product and what it means to our students and telling the student success stories. So keeping track of your success stories locally, I think, is an important thing to do, and then being able to share it with your administration and finally with in the community colleges, for example, the President's Association and the people who are at the community college system office. It's a constant communication to keep people aware of what you're doing. Well, I think that I think probably number one would be the resources. I mean, we just wouldn't have these things. Students wouldn't have access to these kinds of materials or this kind of information. So it's what NC Live is about. It's the materials. It's the collections. That is the number one value or purpose of NC Live. But right behind that, I do believe that working together is just about the most important thing you can do. I think that it just makes us all stronger because some other college library director or some other person within the NC Live community might have an idea of how to address a problem or how to address an issue. So there was always that technical support and support for just because they knew it was the right thing to do. There's always been in my mind this thing in NC Live, we do it because it's the right thing to do. I've never been a part of a group where I felt like that was kind of the really overarching leading goal. I just always know that in Librarians Council meetings, it was always, what's going to be the best thing for us all and how do we work together? I just felt like they did a really good job, and I learned from those people that I was with about how to work together. I think when you're a small college library or a small public library, you get so caught up in not having much and you get real possessive at what you have, and it's hard to think about sharing. I mean, that's my personal theory. That's hard to know that there will be value in sharing what you have, and so I think it opened our eyes to the value of sharing.